Welcome. In this very short presentation, I will just outline some of the key points in the chapter on the UK and Latin America. The chapter is divided into three parts. The first one looks at what has characterized the relations between the UK and Latin America whilst the UK was a member of the EU. The second part looks at the implication of Brexit for Latin America. And a final part looks at the priorities of post-Brexit UK foreign policy and where Latin America fits into this. During the time that the UK was a member of the European Union, it remained an important trade and investment partner for Latin American countries, but nonetheless lagged behind the United States and other European states such as Germany and Spain. It was not an instigator, but it was a keen supporter of various EU agendas for engagement with Latin America, including bi-regional summits, cooperation partnerships, and the negotiation of numerous preferential trade agreements with the more liberal and advanced economies in the region. In 2010, under the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition, the British government launched a plan to try to relaunch the relationships with Latin America. This was known as the Canning House Agenda. The aim was to halt the decline of British diplomatic presence in the region, to reopen embassies, multiply ministerial visits, encourage more business visits, and encourage increased trade and investment with Latin America. Now, although trade did increase and tourism increased, the outcomes of this agenda were very limited. And the reasons for that include the decline in UK economic competitiveness, the fact that British business has a relative lack of interest in Latin America, the low priority given to Latin America in UK global strategic priorities, and also the increased significance of other international economic powers like China in the Latin American region. Once Brexit comes onto the horizon, very little changes in this Canning House agenda. There is a continuation of supportive rhetoric. There are continuous ministerial visits to the region. And of course, the newly created Department for International Trade includes a trade commissioner for Latin America. In practice, however, it becomes difficult for the British government to give more resources, more diplomatic resources to Latin America when it has to reallocate resources to rebuild relations with European states in the aftermath of Brexit. The prolonged nature of Brexit negotiations also meant that there was very little bandwidth to enhance relations with Latin America. Businesses in the UK have also focused mostly on Europe and also on the growth markets of Asia. And indeed, the integrated review of 2021, looking across all British foreign policies, puts the emphasis on the Indo-Pacific region and Britain's application to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, and mentions very little about Latin America. The key priorities with regards to Latin America since Brexit have been to renegotiate the trade agreements that Britain was a party to through the European Union. So a number of Latin American countries had trade agreements with the European Union. Upon Brexit, these ceased to apply to the United Kingdom. So in order to maintain that economic relationship in the terms of trade between Latin America countries and the UK, it became a key priority for the Department of International Trade to negotiate with Chile, Central American countries, the Andean countries, CARIFORUM, and Mexico to negotiate the rolling over of those European agreements. And they successfully did that before Brexit Day. What we see to date is that Latin America continues to not be an immediate priority for British foreign policy. The UK's key priorities have in fact been to limit the economic fallout of Brexit and renegotiate the relationship with the EU. Looking forward, the UK appears to be prioritizing other regions. The 2021 Integrated Review mentions the United States as a top strategic partner, then the European Union, and of course, the Indo-Pacific tilt. Latin America is only mentioned very briefly and in the context of Brazil and Mexico as climate change partners. There are, of course, greater opportunities for certain Latin American countries such as Chile, Mexico, and Peru, who are members of the CPTPP. So if the UK were to accede to this partnership, there are greater opportunities for collaboration, trade, and investment. What is significant to date is that in the short term, there are very little changes, and the likelihood of changes in British foreign policy prioritization are minimal. Therefore, the relationship is likely to continue in its current form into the near future. Thank you very much.